Okay. Welcome everyone to I guess we should probably call this the Kobe Bryant episode, even though it has nothing at all to do with basketball. It is technically our 24th episode, and he was my idol. So welcome to the Kobe Bryant, our 24th episode of Truth Out. Thank you all for joining us. We got a nice rundown today. And the last time that we had this many topics, what's going on, Lauren May? The last time we had this many topics, we were rushing, but we made it to the end. And so I'll give you a quick rundown. We're going to cover the Derek Chauvin trial. The trial hasn't started yet, but just looking at kind of the jury selection process and the attempt from the attorney representing Derek Chauvin to postpone voter suppression laws that are being proposed across the country, really in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, literally across the country. Our new Interior Secretary, Deb Haaland, talk about some of the controversy surrounding New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, the Oprah, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry interview from, is this now 2 weeks ago? I think 2 weeks ago.
It's just been a week, Cliff. It was
no, it's been 2 weeks, hasn't it?
It was last Sunday.
I mean, life, everything's slowed down now with COVID. We've lived a few lifetimes the past year and a half.
I was like,
that's all love Kobe.
Yes.
And last but not least, the Grammys. And that'll pretty much be me listening to my brilliant co-host, because I am very much a square who has not watched an award show in probably the better part of a decade. So the only thing I know is about Tiffany Haddish, because I watched her learn about her victory. And it actually got me emotional seeing her get emotional. So that's my knowledge of the Grammys. And so we'll start off with the Derek Chauvin murder trial. And Derek Chauvin was a former Minneapolis police officer. And we say former because he was fired for, well, I can't use the term murder, but he was fired for his participation in the death of George Floyd last summer. So he's being charged he faces charges in this trial of manslaughter, a second-degree murder, and then we know most recently the prosecutors in the case added on the third-degree murder charge. And the reason for the additional charge, you guys got to remember, sometimes jurors struggle to convict if they know that the punishment for conviction can be greater than what they believe the conviction warrants. So as a result, they will include lesser charges to ensure that there is some modicum of justice. But what do you think is going to happen in this trial as it goes forward?
Yeah. So right now, you have the city. They've decided to award the family, I believe it's $27 million in the civil suit. 27 million. Yeah. So 27 million. It's one of the largest amounts that have been paid to a family in a settlement in a case like this. So that's being reviewed by Derek Chauvin's attorneys. And it's not something that's taken lightly, as now the jurors also have this information. So in part, I feel like it does some harm in terms of making a decision based on the criminal. Like he's being brought, like these charges are being brought against him, and these are criminal charges. The other side, there's a civil suit. And so I often don't believe people understand the difference. And so, but I know that it will play a part in the decision that's made. And unfortunately, I hope that I'm wrong, but I honestly feel that people are human, and they'll take that and they'll see it as, oh, well, the family's been served justice, and he will not be charged as he should for his actions in the murder of George Floyd. That's what I feel will happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, emblematic of the lack of understanding of the system we refer to as justice, and folks' non-ability to separate civil proceedings from criminal proceedings.
Right.
And for those, if anyone's watching it and might be slightly unclear of the distinction, in a civil proceeding, what's at stake typically is some type of monetary damage.
Right.
And it's typically amongst private parties. Whereas in a criminal proceeding, it's the state bringing charges, and what's at stake is your freedom. Because if you lose, or if you are convicted, right, you're the defendant in both civil and in criminal proceedings. It's the defendant versus, where the difference is, in a civil proceeding, it's the defendant versus a private party versus a defendant versus the state, the apparatus really of the state government. And in this case, it was the city of Minneapolis which agreed to settle the dispute between the Floyd estate, or the Floyd family, for $27 million.
Yeah.
And as a result, you have the attorney representing Derek Chauvin, I don't have his name, claiming that the $27 million settlement with the George Floyd estate will tarnish his client. And the lawyer, and as a result, the lawyer is asking the judge to delay the trial and move it outside of the city. And when I saw this, I'm thinking, what city
you can't go really, right.
do you think the potential jurors are completely unaware of the George Floyd killing?
Right.
People in other countries
were
marching in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement this past summer.
Yeah, and not just that, it's the fact that his murder has impacted the way that businesses are operating. In every industry, they've looked at how it is that they're treating their Black and brown employees. And so many things have been impacted by that moment, to where I agree. I don't believe that you moving the case from this state now to, say, Missouri, which is not that far, or moving it to Wisconsin, or just wherever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, there's still, I also believe that with anything, there will always be biases that are presented, but they might not be as apparent when you are picking your jury pool. So we shouldn't ignore that. Exactly.
This comment from Grace: money doesn't fix murder. No.
Right.
And that's why people need to separate the civil settlement from the criminal proceeding.
Right.
To her point, money doesn't fix murder. And if there is no accountability, right? If there's no criminal proceeding to hold Derek Chauvin accountable, what does that mean about the system we refer to as justice? It means that police can act as violently and illegally, with as much misconduct as they want, with impunity. And that's the reason that we have to have a criminal proceeding, and he has to serve time in prison.
Exactly. I was like, he has to be convicted, because what will happen is there quite possibly will be an uprising if he is not convicted, because already they did not convict Breonna Taylor's. They didn't convict anyone for the murder of Breonna Taylor. And then to see this happen, and then we already had, I believe, I'm not sure if they finished the case, but for Ahmaud Arbery. So there's just there's so many emotions right now, especially as more people become aware that this is an issue. This isn't just, it happened. These aren't things that just happened in the last 2 years, but as more people are actually agreeing that this is wrong and we need to hold them accountable, it will go ahead.
Point of clarification. There was some accountability in the Breonna Taylor case,
but it was monetary.
Drywall. They had to protect the wall. Right?
But no.
Sorry,
no,
continue.
No,
they had to protect that. The only accountability was for the walls, not for Breonna Taylor's life.
But what I'm saying is that it comes to a point, like with what Grace just said, money doesn't fix murder. And I think that, unfortunately, that's now become a tool that when they award these families after they've killed one of their family members, they feel as if they've done something to they've done something to help these family members. And typically what's interesting is that the civil case normally comes later. And so I thought that was interesting that we saw the civil case play out earlier before the criminal case. So
yeah, so the lawyer, he asked for the jurors, the 7 that were picked, are to be brought back in for further questioning by the judge. And the judge said the fact that the settlement came during the middle of jury selection is perplexing. I mean, no, it's not. I mean, it's not uncommon for the settlements to reach their conclusion prior to the start of the criminal proceedings. We know criminal proceedings, it takes a long time. They do. The idea that the civil settlement would be issued prior to a criminal proceeding being engaged, I mean, it's kind of farcical. We know that doesn't stand to reason or precedent. It happened before, and it's going to continue to happen because criminal proceedings take so long.
It doesn't mean that it's right. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. And we should definitely read Grace's comment.
Wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, but to what Grace is saying, I just feel as if, so she said here, so often families are compensated and their demands of reform and accountability are totally ignored. And that's why I'm saying I do believe that there are people that will feel as if they've done something to hold these individuals accountable based on compensation, because they see it as, well, what worries, and it's sad because why should we equate money to how people feel? Like something's been taken from them, a family member. And why else do we have this system, this system set up to where we're saying that we would like to have law and order when it actually is not doing anything to provide justice for these family members.
Yeah, that term, it's interesting, law and order, right? I think when we think about law and order, depending on where you fall on the political spectrum would determine your view of law and order. Because if you lean more to the left on the political spectrum, your view of law and order has to do with providing protections for the LGBTQ plus community. It has to do with providing rights to individuals accused of committing crimes. And ensuring that the process works for not just everyone. It has to do with providing equitable solutions, right? So whereas if you fall further to the right of the ideological political spectrum, your view of law and order is harsher punishments for people convicted of committing crimes. It has to do with increased government control over what women can do with their own bodies. So this idea of law and order that kind of is this pervasive position in our society, to me, it's such a moving target because depending on the capricious whims of politicos would determine, oh, sorry, I didn't put up that banner. Depending on the capricious whims of people determines what law and order is, because we just administration, right? All of us are living in a society where a president occupied the White House for 4 years, proclaiming to be the law and order president, which for him, what that law and order meant was we are going to hold marginalized folks and people of color to one standard, and we're going to hold members of the majority to a different standard. Yeah. Law and order for some means if you threaten the white supremacist status quo, you're going to be subject to a particular type of justice. Whereas if you want to continue to perpetuate this tiki torch bearing sentiment, you're going to be viewed in a different light. And that's what that Make America Great Again sentiment was about. That's all it was about. And here, let me put up the banner. If you have questions, please add them in the chat. You gotta remind me.
I'm over here typing so fast on Instagram. Hey, if you have questions, if you want to join us.
Yeah, if you have questions,
we're going.
let us know. All right, but we can unless you had anything else, we can move.
No, just the last point that I'll make. I just think that this is one of those things where we all have a part to play in how how we have these conversations, and really to demand that there be justice for the family beyond monetary. Beyond monetary compensation.
Yeah, and real quick, sorry, I wanted to read a quote from Steve Schleicher, one of the prosecutors. So essentially, like representing the interest of the Floyd family.
Yeah.
Pushing back against this kind of claim by Mr. Nelson, one of the defense attorneys representing Chauvin, that somehow Minnesota was trying to prejudice the case by publicizing the settlement. I mean, again, which he said, we cannot and do not control the civil aspect of this case. We cannot and do not control the Minneapolis City Council, which is true. And this idea, the Chauvin defense kind of conflating this issue, it's really kind of, I think, illustrates the desperation when you have a global society that witnessed this man literally die before their eyes. And so as we all watched him, 500 million people, I think they said, has seen the video, as 500 million of us watched this man take his last breath, you see some desperation in the defense and trying to find some way to appeal to, I guess, the better angels of members of the jury to say, yeah, he's stone cold guilty, but why don't you give him a pass and just convict him of manslaughter or third degree? Don't go with that.
Right.
Don't go with that second degree.
Yeah. But, the problem is that this country, I mean, it's a capitalist society. So people often believe that you can right your wrongs with money. And no. So I really hope that when we're saying that we would like to transform the way this system works and it begins to work for the people, that they hold him accountable. Like, I agree with this person here in the comments. They said, all jokes aside, if this man is not convicted, the people will cause a storm. And I agree. I definitely believe that there will be an uprising if he is not convicted. And I don't blame the people if there is. No. I'll say that now. I don't, because enough is enough. And apparently, I don't know. I don't really understand how else you can get people's attention. I mean, like you just said, over 500 million people watched that video. Yep. All across the world, there were people that were protesting against what against what happened. Yep. So, yeah, we should be clear. Yeah.
The population of this country is what, like between 338 million and 350 million people. So that means not just everyone, and we can assume 90% of the people in this country, but that's a large proportion of the global. We're talking an extra, 200 million people outside of this country that's seen the video. So this idea that somehow changing venue is going to dramatically impact the result is just foolish.
Yeah, they tried it.
He should have pled guilty and tried to seek some type of leniency because, well, we'll see. I mean, you never know what jurors are going to do in this country.
I don't know if anybody's seen the movie American Skin. I highly recommend it. You know what? Some people, Cliff, some people might have actually decided, you know what? That's like an Uber Eats meal plus the delivery fee. I don't know. However you want to work it out, DoorDash, whatever. The point is, some people might have coughed up the $12, whatever it was.
Put in the chat. If you've seen American Skin, let us know.
Yes,
I know I'm not the only one who hasn't seen it.
I need to know who watched the movie. Matter of fact, if you haven't seen it and you would like to see it, put it in the comments. I'll buy it. No, you don't, because I offered to pay for you to watch the movie and you said, nope, don't waste the money.
I'm about to put you on mute. We got to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Right. I'll put it up on my feed later.
So we're starting to see these new voter suppression efforts, and I love that. I listened to Stacey Abrams last night on CNN, and she described this kind of stealing from Michelle Alexander's title of her first book. Described this as the new Jim Crow, and I think that's a very
accurate
description, because not just where we're so to be clear, this isn't like we want to just kind of chastise the South. This isn't just happening in the South. Yeah, we're seeing it in Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, but it's not just the South. 43 states have Republican legislators that have proposed new voter suppression laws. Yeah. And it's clear the reason for them proposing these laws. This is a direct response to the propagation of the big lie that somehow the 2020 election was fraudulent or stolen, or that the individuals who participated did so illegally.
Yeah. I hate that we even have to have this conversation, but I don't understand how people don't see the writings on the wall. The fact that there are members who are in Congress and they're still claiming voter fraud. It is March 16th.
Yeah.
2 months after the insurrection, after people have been sworn in to the new Congress, and they are still claiming voter fraud. And they'll continue to claim voter fraud because they have it in their minds that somehow they were elected, but there was no fraud in them being able to be in their positions. But apparently there was fraud with not putting former President Trump in office. But it's also the part that is disturbing is that no one wants to address the systemic issues of voter access, but they want to still continue. No, I'm just saying, well, not no one. I'm saying the group of people that are now supporting these bills, they put these bills in place, but it's only then to further restrict access for voting. And then, I mean, if you look clearly at what they did, they cut down early voting.
Yep.
They stopped the access of people being able to register same day or within like a week or two from voting. People, because now it's based on if you have an excuse not to show up in person, which many states
polls.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Then they cut they stopped the poll times. They closed the polls at 6 or 7. Yeah. So there's so many things. So I just want people to understand, like, we have to almost go line by line so you understand all of these things that you were able to experience that allowed you to show up in person to make sure that your vote is counted. I'm definitely not trying to scare people from mailing your ballot, but we all see that there are some issues with the mail. I'm not going there right now. But the thing is, if you in fact wanted to show up, you had the opportunity to show up. And I think that we should be, if we're saying that we want to give people the power to elect the people that will represent them, then we all should be making some noise in terms of having furthering access to people, because you shouldn't have to show up on one day, and then fear that you can't get in because they've closed the polls, when most people in 2 years, in 2 years, they will be back in their workplace. We're not all working from home. So
one of the problems, though, so thinking about, you're saying make noise, we can only make so much noise. The problem is the people who are in power and in the position to to pass legislation that can adversely impact our ability to vote are in office. And so by the time that because the only real noise we can make is to vote people out.
Yeah.
They have a chance to vote people out until these voter suppression tactics are already now codified.
Right.
And so there is already this restriction and obstacle that people have to overcome.
I just want to tell people, but at the same time, it's like, also do not get discouraged because we showed up in such great numbers this time. So it's just now you just have to figure out a different strategy in terms of making sure people get out earlier. It sucks, but like what you're saying, honestly, it's just a matter of getting people out at the state level, because I've read a lot of comments from people that praise themselves for still voting for state GOP leaders, but, oh, I didn't vote for President Trump. But now you voted for these people who are placing voting restrictions.
I'm going to respond to.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I'm curious if the response. So the quote for folks on IG who can't see it, I think same day voter registration is a little messed up, but I am down for automatic registration at 18 years old. Since you have to register for the Selective Service, might as well do voter registration too. So there's a lot to unpack there. I'll try to spend like 30 seconds. The same day voter registration. I'm curious to hear some details as to why you think it's messed up. I mean, to me, anything that you can do to expand the electorate has a positive effect on society. And that's why there are industrial countries that actually require voting. The more people that can vote, the more informed typically your electorate's going to be, the more active people are going to be in their government, the more responsive the government is to the people. That seems to only have a positive effect. The more people that participate, the better we are for it. And so the second part, first of all, people shouldn't have to register to fight in wars that they don't morally agree with. So this idea that, well, we have to register for the Selective Service, one, that's only true for a small subsect of society, because if you're an elderly individual and maybe you move to be closer to your grandkids, you wouldn't be registering for the Selective Service, and you might not have the same access to getting to a post office or getting to a DMV in order to register to vote. So this idea that these new voter ID requirements are going to somehow prevent fraud that doesn't exist is really just kind of a tactic to use by the right to again suppress the vote. I mean, we know based on the statistics provided by every federal agency that there has been no fraud. So this idea that they're going to prevent fraud, there's no fraud to prevent.
Yeah, and I also just want to caution Ethan and whoever else feels this way. I do know that you saw them carefully watching the videos of the people counting the ballots. They counted them multiple times. And even before the 2020 election, if people register the same day, those ballots go into a separate stack to be counted. Because they still have to verify the individuals that have registered to vote to make sure that they're actually eligible to vote. So this isn't voter fraud. And I know. Go ahead.
But I think the second, because they did follow up, and I appreciate the follow up. And I think this is important. I'll read it for folks on IG.
Yeah.
Projected voting numbers can't be assumed, but same day creates a problem with addresses and what precinct you are in. And I think this is perfect in terms of responsive to the point that you made earlier. And see, this is why I have the most genius co-host in America, because essentially you address this. One of the problems with these voter suppression laws is it cuts down on early voting. If we had an expansion of early voting, same day registration doesn't affect the election. Because more people participating before the day of. So when that means there's less people that try to vote on the actual election day, thus less people registering on election day. And so what are ways that we can avoid this type of mess on election day, to use their words? By increasing how many people vote before election day, as opposed to decreasing it. Intention of stopping. And let's not beat around the bush or ignore what the reality is. The reality is you have Republicans in certain locales in this in municipalities country that just assume they're going to win year after year. There was never an expectation for a Democrat to carry Georgia, to carry Arizona, win back Pennsylvania this quickly. And so as a result, now there's a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, we got to go back to us controlling this.
Exactly.
And how can we do that? It's not by appealing to them with our message. No, it's by tricking them or by preventing marginalized and people of color from participating, because they're not going to support us. So we got to find a way to prevent them. Can
you put the other comment up? So
I had to read it first.
I vetted it. That's why I said put it up.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So the follow up to the previous comment is, I am all down for expanding the voting dates make it an entire week. But same day means we don't know the winner until a day or more later after they have to verify everything. But the thing is that you honestly, everybody should want these votes to be counted. Like, you shouldn't just assume that that's the this is the problem. It's instant gratification. And we expect that we should know these answers for, I mean, who's actually going to hold the most power of the country? You actually should want to know that these votes have been counted accurately. And again, you shouldn't have to wait until the day of to have everyone come out. Yeah. It just frustrates
I don't care if I don't know on election day.
Yeah, in other countries, they don't know the same day. That's happened. No, but I'm just saying. Yeah, but if
it takes a week to count them, then we don't know for a week. But at least we know we got the right result. All right, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Black free. So we've got a new. She was just recently confirmed 2 days ago, and this is the first Native American to be a member of a presidential cabinet. Deb Haaland, who is I was going to say current, but now I guess with the confirmation, no longer, but was a House rep for representing the state of New Mexico. And her story is pretty incredible. She talks about growing up and having her grandmother relay really stories from her experience as a Native woman in this country and her experience even in New Mexico. And so, I missed that last comment.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to ask?
No, you go ahead. I'm letting you.
What?
You were like, okay, we got to move on.
No, because we've got.
I'm so glad that you're checking for the time today. So, but if you would like to, you can answer. Grace, no. But you know what? Grace shows up for us every week. So can you please answer her?
Oh, sure. Here, I'll put let me take this banner up, put the comment up. But right now it's actually verified until the Electoral College does its stuff. Yeah, essentially it's all verified. All the verification does is send, and then each state so the states each certify their own vote, and then they send that, and that's what the Electoral College bases their vote on. So it is all certified by all 50 of the state legislatures, and then the which is essentially the Electoral College, and the Electoral College certifies what was already certified. It's a really dumb prehistoric slave relic that needs to be abolished. It's really dumb. It's really anti-American. It's really anti-democratic. It's a dumb system and process.
Yeah.
It's what we have because we still love to stick to things that had to do with slavery, and it was part of the agreement to even get to the Constitution that we have. But yes, states certified, the Electoral College certifies what was certified, but it's still dumb.
Right. And the last thing I'll add with that is that what happened in this past election with it taking more time than what people are accustomed to, it allowed us to have these conversations and for people to really begin to educate themselves on how this whole system works.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No comment. Back to that. I wish I got a picture of her. And I just realized I never put up the picture of Derek Chauvin, but that's fine.
We don't need to see a picture of him.
He a criminal. I love seeing these people in jumpsuits, since they love to put Black people in jumpsuits first chance they get. So I don't want to talk too much. I'm curious just your thoughts on Deb Haaland being the first Native American member of the cabinet. And I think it's not irony, but just the thinking about, it's not just a Native American in the cabinet, but the position she's holding, because she's going to be over affairs that have to do with connecting to these tribes across the country. She is the Secretary of the Department of the Interior, and that oversees all of the relationships with the Native tribes in this country.
Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the best decisions that the Biden administration has made so far.
Yeah, and I believe too that they work. Isn't this one over Homeland Security?
DHS?
Is this DHS?
It has to be. DHS would be over DOD, I believe, right?
Yeah. Never mind. They're in the Department of Justice. Yeah. They're in the Department of Justice. Okay. Yes, but I think because they work together at times, it's just a long time
They're
coming.
both crazy. DHS is its own department.
Right.
That's its own. Yeah, that's its own. It's not under anything. DHS was created after 9/11.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a secretary of the
Okay.
Department of Homeland Security.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't even. I think that they've already. I know, and I know that they have picked their. Yeah. Yes, I'd have to look that up. But for this, I do think that it's a long time coming. It's long overdue. It's long overdue, and
just like a Black woman being on the Supreme Court, we need that like 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and we didn't talk about the new secretary for. So there's a few things that we've been gone for a little bit, a little hiatus, but last week I believe Marcia Fudge, she was confirmed to become the Secretary of HUD. So for housing, and then there's been a little bit of discomfort in what happened with Neera Tanden in her confirmation hearing, that they actually weren't able to confirm her. And that's a political thing right there. But overall,
Neera Tanden had to withdraw from her nomination because you have non-Democrats like Joe Manchin in West Virginia and all the Republicans saying the rhetoric from her tweets were so unbearable, which is okay. So that's unbearable, but an individual accused of sexual assault, beer can Kavanaugh, that's not unbearable. It's okay to have that individual confirmed. It's okay for Jeff Sessions to be confirmed to be the Attorney General representing the country, like Coretta Scott King and others, right? Even the Reagan administration saying, no, this dude's even too racist for us. The president was all about, right, a war on drugs, which is really a war on Black people. For those folks, Sessions was too racist, but not for this Senate and Joe Manchin. And so the hypocrisy, glaring.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, and she ran Center for American Progress. So rightfully, they advocate for progressive policies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the comments that Neera Tanden made were in alignment with the policies that she believed we should have adopted in the previous administration and the administration before. That was her job. So
she ain't said nothing on Twitter that you and I have never said.
Right. No, she hasn't. I mean, it's probably gone a bit further.
But was too extreme.
Too extreme. I mean, there's people that are sitting in Congress right now who have made more extreme comments, have put their colleagues in danger, and yet they still sit there serving the American people. But
facts, facts.
We'll leave it at that. And I think we probably need to move, to Governor Cuomo.
So New York Governor Cuomo is in some hot water. And you even have the entirety of the New York congressional Democratic delegation signing on to a letter demanding this man resign. And you can take it away on why they are demanding Governor Cuomo resign and whether or not you think it's time for him to resign.
Yeah. So since our last conversation about Governor Cuomo, initially when we covered this a few weeks ago, we were only dealing with the breadth of how he handled COVID and reporting the numbers of elderly people who had died in nursing homes due to COVID, that mishandling. At the time, different conversation. Now what we know is that he's had a few claims of seven women have come forward with claims of sexual harassment, comments that he's made at work functions, in the workplace. And then there's been claims from former and current staff members that have said that they feel as if they're being threatened to speak out to confirm any of the wrongdoing or anything that they've witnessed by Governor Cuomo. So there's definitely there's a lot at play right now, and so just to answer the question, I do believe that at this point he has to resign. He has to resign.
Yeah.
The reason why I say, I mean, it's hard to say that, right? Because there are people, they can have.
Is it hard to say that?
No. What I'm saying is it's hard because Cliff and I had a conversation offline last night, and we're just talking about the way that these things play out. I do not agree to how the media, it's all about the story at times, yeah. Right? And so I do believe that they knew that the story was a lot larger than the COVID cases, because honestly, 3-5 days later, then we're hearing about sexual harassment claims. I mean, they were working on this stuff, so they knew that it was coming. It's just a matter of time that we heard it. But I don't think that I just don't think that it should be used in the way that it's being used in order to push someone out. But his integrity is already, he showed us that he doesn't have it. And so, yeah, I've watched CNN over the last week at night, and it's interesting too to see the way that the network, there is a conflict of interest. His brother,
he's not covered.
They're not there. No, I was gonna ask you. Yeah, I haven't heard.
Don hasn't covered it. Don hasn't covered it. Those two are really close. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch.
And this is my thing. Nightly news, prime time. That's when you talk about these things, and those are the individuals that people look to cover these conversations. And so when we're saying that sexual harassment, sexual assault should not be tolerated, especially in places, I mean, anywhere. But when we're talking about the whole Me Too movement, and then you have one of the largest networks, they haven't been covering it, that's a problem. And that shows a sign. And yeah.
Last thing I'll say before we transition to the Oprah interview, I think that part of, because if you think about it, if you've been following, really the vast majority of individuals, members of the Democratic Party, have said that he needs to resign. You and I on the show 3 weeks ago said he needs to resign, and we were making that based solely on him intentionally disclosing fallacious numbers from deaths in nursing homes in New York related to COVID. And then so if you couple the false reporting with the 7 allegations of sexual harassment, it's difficult to say that this is an individual that is going to command the necessary respect from his colleagues to be a functional governor.
Yeah.
I'll say this.
That part.
If we were to if we extrapolate the misreporting, the intentional misreporting, and someone asked me if we're just looking at the allegation, should he resign? I think I might have a different answer. I do believe that investigations need to see themselves to fruition, but I agree. They seem to be pretty credible. First of all, women don't make these allegations unless they're true for the most part, right? Because there's so much heightened scrutiny. There's a spotlight put on you. It's going to be damaging to your professional career. There's so many reasons why we know that these allegations are not just allegations, but typically they're true. To me, 7 come forward, my guy.
Right.
That letter.
Yeah.
Do it to a press secretary if you don't want to go before a camera and hold your wife's hand and say, I'm sorry. First of all, I hate when they do that.
Don't bring your wife
out and make them stand there. You effed up, not them.
Yeah.
Man. So
just don't do that.
And walk away gracefully. You've been a good governor. And that's it. But
knowing how this country runs, they'll invite him, y'all, to be on somebody's talk show. He'll be a correspondent in like the next 5 years. But I'll leave it at that.
And daggone it, I had a photo of these two.
Of who?
Here we go.
Oh.
It's loading because I forgot. So the Meghan Markle, if you haven't seen it, if folks on IG, it's a photo of the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. It's funny. I know I'm not the only one.
You're so extra.
The reason I know these titles is because of Bridgerton. If it wasn't for Bridgerton, I wouldn't know all that.
Yeah, right.
Don't act like I'm the only one.
Yeah, right.
What does that mean? I only know because of Bridgerton. Moving right along.
I'm sorry. So is that when your fascination with the monarchy began?
No. Well, no. First of all, I don't have a fascination with the monarchy.
Okay.
England, I was just like, yeah, y'all still have a royal family. I'm good. I'm really good. But I think this interview really allowed folks to examine and grapple with the existing international white supremacy. And there is no greater symbol of white supremacy on planet Earth than the British royal family. To intimate that there's racism within the institution of the royal family has led such a firestorm, indicates that the same aversion to dismantling the white supremacist status quo in this country doesn't just exist in the United States, it exists all over. And you see that from the reaction of Brits like the clown Piers Morgan and Sharon Osbourne, and from others. This idea that we would somehow question the racial integrity of the royal family has led to such vitriol that it's like, okay, if someone were to claim that, I don't know, I'm maybe gonna make the comparison. I think it's so evident from the reaction of these people that we know it exists, that their goal is to allow it to continue to kind of pervade society, that it's had this reaction. I'm hitting stuff, so I'm thinking around.
Oh, okay. Thought you were trying to hit a mark with the Sandra Bland. Like, oh.
It's so evident, and I love that people like Don Lemon have like put a spotlight on this, and others, and really saying this isn't a surprise to Black folk. Like anyone that watched the interview was like, no, that's a melanated person, right? Black or otherwise, Black or a person of color that's not Black. I think we watched the interview and we're like, yeah, dog, we knew.
Right.
We all saw the headlines.
Yeah, let me just say, yeah. Let me just say this. Oprah, we know who Oprah's primary audience is. That was not for Black folks. That was for her white audience, ages 30 and above. That was for them because they need to have this conversation. Yeah. All of us, I'm with Don Lemon, I'm with Amanda Seals.
Right,
we
sure.
are
crying.
But I'm just saying, like, this really, which part of the reason is why I'm just sitting back is because I just feel like, didn't we all know this? I think we did. Now, to the extent of, yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. I'm saying, which is why I didn't feel so compelled to sit up on a Sunday night and watch this interview, because I felt like, you're not really telling me anything I didn't already know. However, I do want to acknowledge the fact that anybody that is reaching out for help should be provided assistance. So what was not okay is that the institution, because of perception and how it will look, they didn't want to do anything to assist her. Like that's something that I feel like we all need to, that's something I feel everyone should be able to agree that that's wrong. And then also the questions about her son's, like, what would her son look like? I mean, but again, the British, I mean, it wasn't, but I mean, we know colorism exists, but again, this is Britain. They started colonialism, and it's impacted every group living. So I just need people to really understand history and how this is played out. Go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah. I was going to read a quote from Grace again. It says, I also saw a post today about how the priorities of the royal family were shown when they freaked out about Markle, right? Let's think about the reaction from Charles and from the Queen about Markle, but they said nothing of people in the royal family that were very close friends with Epstein.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that is so, yes, thank you, Grace, because they stayed quiet, and you know how they try to shy away from commenting on different political issues. They are seen as we're not touching that, but yet
political issues that
right, that threaten the crown. And this, but the thing is that they've had opportunities to speak out about everything else. And she makes a great point, because here it is, somebody right there of your family is. Go ahead. I'm so annoyed.
So the next day, what does the Crown start to post on IG? Pictures of Prince Charles with people of color.
I'm sorry, I thought they didn't use the way. That's so tacky.
Right?
There's another. Yeah, there's not even another word. It's so performative. Performative.
So performative. Speaking of performances, I just realized it's
okay.
There's so much time to spend on this. We might have to come back to it. So I don't watch award shows. Unapologetic. So this is all the Grammys happened. I'm excited. Let me put up the picture of my girl, because she was.
Y'all, Cliff is not excited. He is not excited. Don't let him fool you.
Have at it, hater.
I mean, but we do agree with this one, because we both were on the same boat. About Tiffany Haddish winning. Yeah. So go ahead, Cliff, because I mean, I could talk about the other performances.
Yeah. So Tiffany Haddish found out she was on a set with two little girls. I actually don't know what the production was. And then she found out while she was like interacting with these girls, like that she actually won, and got emotional, because she's been nominated multiple times. But she won for best like comedy album, I think it was. And that's a big deal, because our best comedy, because a Black woman apparently hasn't won in that category since 1986, since Whoopi did it. And so it was pretty special to see. And I just love the video that Chrissy Teigen posted of John Legend learning that he won. He was just in the kitchen cooking, and he learned, and he just kept on cooking. Then it's like, well, you know too many when this is my reaction.
I mean, so the Grammys were, it was definitely different. I do tune in. I tune into almost all the award shows. I try, unless, just really need to boycott. But yeah, so this is like, there's so many great moments of the award show, just the reactions, and a lot of surprising winners. So Beyonce, I told Cliff, she's now received the most Grammy Awards. She has 28. So, and she just surpassed Alison Krauss. So if anyone doesn't listen to country, Alison Krauss is amazing. But yeah.
Aretha was on the list. How many did Aretha have?
No, it says right here, it says putting her across the line set by bluegrass artisan Alison Krauss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Stand corrected. Aretha was next on the list.
Maybe I don't know. But
sorry, keep going.
Beyonce has 28 wins, Cliff. Okay.
It's the most 28. Of all.
Yes. Surpassing, yes, exactly. Male and female. And then also one of the other, it was cute, but her daughter, Blue Ivy, she also won an award for brown skinned girl. And so it was just, there were all these great moments of the night. And then just seeing, oh.
I know that song. I listen to some.
Okay. Okay, serenade them, will you? Okay, and then and then there was just like these really nice moments to just somewhat see that they're trying to return to a little bit of normalcy, because we haven't seen people gather in rooms, and also when I say rooms, they were they were very small. They were not in these big auditoriums or rooms how they typically are. And so that was interesting. And then we saw Meg Thee Stallion. She won a few awards for Savage with Beyonce. And then she also won I think this is the first time that a rap performer has won in the category for Best New Artist.
Really?
Yeah. Or it was, hold on. I had it up because I wanted to make sure I had it right.
How does Michael Jackson not have 50 Grammys?
Okay, Cliff, this is not about MJ. I love him, but I don't know. I think that, yes,
research.
I think you should do that. You should do that. Go and do some more research. Maybe if you start showing up, talking about these things.
I'm not going to watch them. I don't.
Exactly. But yeah, so there were just some interesting ones for the night. And then I like that Billie Eilish, she won. So amazing. Amazing artists. So all around, there's some good stuff that happened that night.
And I know Taylor won Album of the Year. I think. Maybe I don't know that. Is that not accurate? Taylor Swift?
I think she did get Album of the Year, and then Billie Eilish won Record of the Year. Or
is there a difference? Do we even make it still?
Yes, it's not about the.
What? Wait, one album, wait a minute. A record is an album. What is happening?
I know. Okay, when we come back from our break, we will discuss the difference next week, friends.
Oh, see, you done messed me up all week. Now we got to go.
So next week, guys, you
start off the show talking about record versus album, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll correct some things if they need correction. And then also we will try to bring other people into the conversation via StreamYard and IG Live. So
thank you for joining.
Yeah. Sorry. No. I was gonna say we'll see you guys next week.
Brown skin girl.